Today, I'm going to share with you guys an interview I did with my friend Justin Williams. Now, if you don't know who Justin Williams is, you definitely should. He's got such a unique perspective on real estate investing. He flips over 100 properties per year in multiple different states by working like 15 minutes a week or something silly like that, because he's really big on systems. So recently he came out to Salt Lake. We drove around and really talked informally just about life, business, entrepreneurship, his family, how he's systemized his business. And also he talks about what he plans on teaching his son about business, money, and real estate. So I know you guys are going to love this interview because I loved doing the interview with him. So check it out. Justin, let me ask you this one. What makes you successful? How come you're successful? You haven't been doing this a gazillion years. You didn't start out with the millions of dollars. So what makes you successful? What makes you think that you can do what you've done? What makes you successful?
I think it's kind of the way, just what you said. I mean, first of all, I do not feel like I've arrived in any way, right? But I felt successful when I had $120,000 debt, when I was just moved to Bakersfield, dropped my partner because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to. He left me with all the debt, right? I was dumb enough to get it in my name in the first place, but moved in with my brother, my brother-in-law and his fiance, and a couple of our installers. You know, we lived in a small room. My son was in the closet. I felt successful because in my mind, I knew what I was going to create. I mean, it's crazy, like looking back and thinking like that, but I feel no more successful now than I did then.
So you always knew.
I never had any doubt. I just believed I could. And even though we went through, and there are moments when I may have doubted slightly, but those moments of doubt are pretty short before I start. And I think you mentioned it earlier, because I knew other people that were successful. And I knew they put their pants on one leg at a time. I knew there wasn't anything different about them than me. And the truth is, I just wanted it. I wanted it, and I knew I could do it. I didn't know how all the time, but I knew there was a way, and I knew I was willing to figure it out.
Yeah.
So hard work, it's really hard work, especially at the beginning.
It's such a mindset game, right?
Yeah.
If you think you're beating you are, if you think you dare not, you don't.
Yeah.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
It's just mindset. So it's just constantly filling your mind with good, positive things and surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to be.
Yeah.
Because it'll raise if you think this is possible, it's true. If you think this is possible, it's true. And a lot of times we get our paradigm of what we think is possible by what people tell us around us.
Yes.
So if you're around people that say you can flip
true.
100 homes, but Justin, if you watch somebody flip 300 homes, you would say, I can flip 300 homes.
Yep.
But right now, if you're the top of your heap, you're thinking, I don't know what it looks like to flip 300 homes. But you know what it looks like to flip 120 homes.
Yeah, no, it's true. In 1 year.
Well, let's just,
just making
you did
sure.
That in a year?
For the record.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. But it's true, though. It's mindset.
No, it's very true.
Yeah.
Really
so,
hard work.
What do you do every day? Like, I'm not just talking about like in your business. I'm talking about what do you do every day that makes you successful?
Every day, my goal is to, like, I'll never like hop on the MLS and, what houses can I find now? Or it's always about, how can I 10x myself? How can I grow? I spend a lot of time thinking, even when I'm working, if that makes sense. I'm a dreamer. My mind wanders all the time. I have serious ADD. And then I take things that I want to get done and I figure out, who can I have do this? How can I systematize this? How can I scale this? I try not to do things that are just, one and done type things. I try to do things like build relationships with guys like you or my wholesalers that I think, okay, I could probably buy 12 houses with this guy this year, maybe 20 or whatever. And then how can I do more?
You focus on thinking, you focus on relationships. How about learning, building stuff? Do you learn? Do you read frequently?
I honestly, I'm not a big reader of books.
Do you listen to podcasts?
Do you
consume
I listen
internet forums?
But what's interesting is, so I have this thing that I call the 3 C's. You can consume content, you can create, and then you can create, not necessarily content, but create. To me, create could be content, or it could be you're growing your business. Oh, and then you, the third one is not collaborate, but just you get to know people. So basically, those are kind of the 3 things I like to focus my time on, and it depends where I'm at in my life and my business, where I'm focused at. So when I started with real estate, for the first, month or so, or at least a couple of weeks, because I kind of dove in head first, right? The first few weeks, 90% of my time was focused on consumption, taking in the content, reading everything I get my hands on, listening to every seminar I could, talking to people, going to meetings, networking. But then there was a time where there was a shift where I had to focus more on the doing, the taking action, the creating something.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of, so let's say, but then it's like, as I would go back to that content after I had taken action, I remember going to hear Mike Cantu speak one time, and it was good. And then I started taking action, and then I went and heard him speak again. I was like, oh,
It meant something different to you.
It meant something way different.
He probably said the same thing.
Yeah, the same stuff. Yeah, it was the same stuff. It meant way more. It's like the same talk. And I heard it differently. And that's kind of how it is. So then it's like, let's say you're doing 50-50. And then there comes a time when you've got things rolling where maybe you're only consuming 10-15% of let's say time. Let's say you break it down into time. 10-15% of my time is based on consuming and learning. Maybe 10% is networking, and then the rest is just building my business, right? But that changes too based on, I've had several moments in my business where I've adjusted or adapted to what I'm doing. I was doing short sales and wholesaling at first, then I got into REOs and rehabbing and trustee sales, and then from there I started working with wholesalers and direct marketers or direct sellers.
You take care of a wholesaler,
exactly.
They'll take care of you.
So that's what I do with that's my whole thing. Like, our marketing right now is like taking as good of care of our wholesalers as we can.
Yeah, a legit wholesaler is worth its weight in gold.
Oh, totally. So our goal, and Vanessa knows this, like, you drop everything when you get a house from a legit wholesaler, not some junk from someone we don't know. And you comp that property out, and you give them an answer within like half hour. I mean, we tell them an hour, but the goal is within half hour. And if we're unsure, we tell them. We say, look, like, we don't want, we need like 24 hours on this one because we need to get it inspected. We could, there's a price that we know we can do now type thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, because I always do like some houses, like, the comps are there, they're solid, bread and butter area, right?
Right.
And then there's other houses where you're like, I'm kind of taking a risk on this one because there's not a lot of data. So on those houses, we need a little bit more time, but still, we try to communicate to them very quickly. So that's number one. And then, a lot of times
That's brilliant advice for how to treat wholesalers. Brilliant advice. Because people get those emails and stuff, and they're slow to react, and they'll come back to you 3 days later. Oh, hey, the house looks pretty good. And I'm like, what house?
No.
The house was 3 days ago? The house is gone.
No.
Right?
Like,
but people like you get it.
Yeah.
And you realize, hey, what? Pay up. Just buy it. Yeah. And then you'll be on top of the list next time. Mike probably called you first that next time. Called you. Just hey, got another one.
Well, so that next one.
Because wholesalers are lazy. We want our life to be easy.
I gave him $100 bills. So he got, $3,000 doesn't sound like a ton, right? Because we made like $60,000 on that house, right?
Yeah.
The market was going up, and we had a fallout, which was a huge blessing because the market kept going up. And so I'm like, dude, here you go, man. And he even said to me, he's like, this is the best like marketing money you could ever spend. As I'm taking action, I want to reach out to those people. I don't get me wrong, I love books are great, but if I've got a question now about this specific thing, I'm not going to go to a library and start reading like 10 books.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to call you.
Or whoever is in your Rolodex.
Yes, exactly.
Whoever the expert is.
Exactly. So I think you have to know something. Right? If you don't know,
you're Henry Ford. Henry Ford did that, right?
Exactly.
He says, I don't need to fill my mind with all that stuff because I can. There's thousands of people that know those things. I can call them and say, "What do you do here?"
So once again, we talked about the spectrums. I've seen people who don't get any education; they make dumb mistakes. But I see so many people, and so I think that's why I preach that, because I do think reading is important. I think learning is important, but I do see just as many people who fall into the analysis paralysis, information overload. They think they have to learn everything, and I get caught in that too. Even this morning, I was up pretty early, and I was like, oh, I need to be listening to this guy's podcast, and I need to be reading this, and I need to be doing this, and all of a sudden you're just like, and then like you don't do anything, right? And so you gotta like zone in, have a plan, have a focus, consume what you can when you can. There are times when really focused on working out more than other times. And at those times, I'll be listening to podcasts. But there might go weeks at a time where I don't listen to any podcasts, but I'm learning because maybe I'm doing interviews like this or learning from you. So you always have to be learning, but don't pigeonhole it, I say. It's like, at the end of the day, like in this business, you got to be marketing and making offers. So you got to learn those numbers, market and make offers, and then keep learning, but just keep bulldozing ahead.
Yeah.
I consider myself much more of a business owner than I do a real estate investor.
Yeah.
It's just real estate is the product that I buy and sell, basically.
That's so interesting because when people ask me what I do, sometimes I'll say I'm a real estate entrepreneur, but a lot of times I say I own a sales and marketing company.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't call myself, I guess I am a real estate investor, but not.
There's a crossover, right?
There is.
But I see it's important to recognize that there's two types, because you go to an investment club and you've got
hey, if it's money, answer it.
No, I don't think. It's I'll just get it real quick.
Yeah, you're good.
So what are the numbers?
Okay.
236 is purchase, okay.
Repairs 80.
Okay.
Closing cost at 8% is 32,800.
Okay.
And we should be able to, our ARV is 410. 400 is 410. At 410 it's 19%, and at 400 it's 16%.
Okay.
4,000 in closing costs, and the purchase price is 410. So that's 15%, and the profit is 66,000.
Before paying our investors. Very good.
Do you have any guilt as an entrepreneur? Because your business runs with you working at 15 minutes a day. You ever feel guilty about that? Because Vanessa and your mom and Rachel and these contractors and these hosts, they're working harder than you.
I don't feel guilty. And part of that, I think, is maybe I would feel guilty. I shouldn't ever feel guilty, I don't think, but I think I would if I wasn't like a hard worker anyway. Like if I was just like, if I was grinding them and getting upset because this and that and not paying them right and treating them well. And then like in Hawaii, like all the time, maybe I would a little bit, but I really don't, because I never let my business affect, I try not to let my business affect the emotional part. I try to keep it separate. It's like, this is a business, not a charity. I try to keep my charity separate. Not that I have a charity, but charitable things, I try to keep that separate. So I always look at it as everyone has their choice, right? Like I love the team members I have, but they're never forced to do what they're forced to do, right? It's up to them.
Yeah.
So I say, this is what you're gonna get paid, is what your job is. And if they ever don't like that, they have the opportunity to leave. But I believe by creating what we've created, it's given them those opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, they're the president of their own corporation. They can leave whenever they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's self-employed, even though they work for you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's very true. So, no.
No entrepreneurial guilt. I say that because I feel guilty sometimes, because I feel like I've spent all this time creating these things and all that, but then sometimes I feel guilty that I didn't have to hear about that deal yet. I profited from that deal more than most people did, or more than other people on my team.
The only guilt I would say I felt is times where I've been so consumed with my work, and it's more a mental thing. Like we've gotten through it, but there have been times when I'd be out to eat with my wife, and I'm thinking about the business, right?
That's tough.
So she's talking to me, and what's that? That's the kind of guilt I felt. But we've made rules, just like everything. Like we make rules. Like we're not as hard and fast on them now, because as we've been able to enjoy life and spend more time with my family, I guess that's why I don't feel guilt, because I'm naturally very driven and work oriented. I love what I do.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Even though, because I know that you've changed your business so that you don't have to be there as much, but you fill that time with something else. I fill it with
being here with you, which I enjoy doing, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel guilty, is because I do work very hard, and Vanessa knows that. I mean, she knows I'm the most motivated, hardworking person she's ever met, and it's not. I don't have to do that. I make sure I never put myself in a position where I'm saying, I'm going to do this and this, because that's what it's all about. That's why we take the risk. That's why we put it all on the line. That's why I, knocked those doors in Bakersfield in 110-degree heat, selling satellite dish to pay off the debt we had, so I could create that life and take care of my family and not have to worry about those things.
You did stuff for years, but then you emerged as an overnight success. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But behind the scenes, grinding and pushing and all that stuff.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden you're just like, wow.
Overnight, baby. Nothing to
success.
it. Anything I touch turns to gold.
Yeah. You've never failed in your life. Never lost money ever. If you could go back in your time machine or write a letter to yourself at 18 years old, just speaking to yourself, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself?
You know, you always have the people who say, and I agree, like, I want to do anything different. I keep it all the same because I'm happy. And I agree. But what I would tell other 18-year-olds and what I'm going to teach my children, and I actually had this discussion with my sister a couple days ago. It's kind of, anyway, and my brother, Steven, was I feel like we don't teach kids how to make money. You know, we teach them to get educated and go to school, which I agree. Education is incredibly important, as we've talked about, and I'm not a big fan of college. But why don't we teach them how to make money? And why don't we teach them how to be entrepreneurs? You know, so my goal right now for my son, he's 8. We've already talked about it. By the time he's 10, actually we're going to start sooner by teaching him some of the skills. By the time he's 10, he knows that's when he's going to start learning how to make money.
How are you going to teach him how to make money? What are you going to tell him?
I think for him, like it's about what he loves to do. He's gonna take the things that he loves to do. Like he loves those rainbow loom. Have you seen those things?
Oh yeah, the bracelets kids are making.
He loves making those, and he makes the panda bears and like lizards and like really cool stuff. And he's like origami master. So he's like 8 years old and he's really good at these things. He's making videos and recording himself doing this, which he's watched these YouTube videos, learning from other people. And you know, I believe if you create value. Not only create value, like, because I've heard both, right? You have to create value, and then you have to have the business part. You have to monetize it. You have to do something with that value you've created. You have to get it out there in front of people. You have to create an audience, if you will. If you can do that, you can make money from that.
And you know what? I heard you say 2 things there to summarize what you said about teaching your son how to make money. You said, do something you love.
Yeah. Yes. It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
And learn how you can combine that to a service that somebody will pay you for, essentially.
Exactly.
Do what you love.
Exactly.
And learn how you can serve someone through that.
Yeah.
And you'll monetize it. That's it. That's key.
I once heard this guy say, you know, his goal is to help as many people as he can. And it's almost as if, like, he just walks around and picks up the money that they leave on the ground when they leave. I mean, it's not, obviously, it's a business. I don't want to I try not to get too, like, ooh, la, 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 you know, like out here, like weird like that. Because people, it's hard for them to, like, understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, if you create something of value that other people enjoy and are able to get something out of, then the abundance, right? I mean, that comes back to you. And I say teach him how to make money. I would hope that I'm teaching him many other things way more important than the actual money in that.
Well, I love that. And to put into words what you said there, give more in value than you take in payment.
Yeah.
If your son goes and rakes leaves for the neighbor, and she's old and she would have paid $30 or $40 to get it done, and he does it for $10.
Yeah.
And he gave more in value than he took in payment. She benefited from that. He benefited from that. You know.
Exactly.
And the more people he can serve that, if he turns that into a business by giving that same value to somebody all across the block, by organizing that and getting other people to fulfill it, and him taking a slice of that, he served more people, added more value, he got more money.
And that's what got me into my whole house flipping HQ and my mastermind group and the podcast is I wanted to learn. I just wanted to learn more, really. And I realized like the importance of giving value. And I thought, what do I have to share? And I know how to flip houses. So that's why I started sharing that and creating a platform that, like you said, in my humble opinion, very humble opinion, the value that I'm trying to give is 100 times more than what I'm getting. And hopefully, you know, when I got started, I mentioned these guys, I don't know if I mentioned that here or not, but I spent $40,000 on education my first 2 years by guys that, after a while we realized like this guy wasn't even doing the business, right? I mean, he was just selling information. He had done it like 6 years ago or something. I don't regret it because I connected with the right people and I had a system, but guys that really weren't doing the business. And one of them who, you know, I told you I won a card that was never sent to me. I still get a little emotional whenever I see a Chrysler 300.
Was it a Chrysler 300?
Yeah. So I want to create something that I feel like is a necessity out there, but without the $25,000 price tag and all the debt that comes with that, and someone who's actually doing the business and can give them that value. So.
Yeah, that's key. You spent $40,000 in education, but it doesn't matter if you get it for free or if you spend $40,000. If you take action on it and like actually implement and grow, it doesn't really matter. So people get hung up on that. Don't buy the guru stuff. Hey, you bought the guru stuff and it worked.
Yeah.
But you don't have to buy the guru stuff. You can get the stuff for free, but whatever works for you, whatever cuts your learning curve.
Yeah.
But do something, right?
I do see a lot of people though that they're so anti the education that they go to like investment club after investment club, right?
Yeah.
And 1 month they're like, all right, I'm gonna do exactly what Andy's doing, you know? And then the next month they hear someone else and it's like, oh yeah, they get all like jazzed up about
Shiny
that.
object
Shiny
syndrome.
objects. So
Yeah.
I see people after 2 years who haven't done anything. So I do think it's important to pick a focus. If you have a mentor that you're like partnering up with, great. Maybe try to have like a mastermind group, either pay for an affordable one or create one, right?
Yeah, it cuts your learning curve dramatically if you can find somebody who is where you want to be.
Yes.
Sometimes they'll associate with you for free. Sometimes you got to pay for their time because Justin Williams, you outsource yourself from your business, and you didn't do that so somebody could take you to lunch for free
Exactly.
and have you train them, right?
I get about a lunch requested
Invitation,
per day.
yeah, that free
like,
lunch
every
costs you a
single
lot of
day.
money, right?
Yeah, it does.
Because it takes you away from your family or your focus or
does.
what you want to be doing. And I get the same thing. And not that you don't want to help those people, and we both frequently help those people, I think, still, but it's like,
Yeah.
you know.
But you've
so-
got to do the way I look at it is every hour I spend with someone else is an hour away from my family.
Yeah.
So not that I'm not willing to do that. Like we're here today because we're able to share this with a lot of people. But that's the way I look at it. And if I do it too much, I wish I could do that for everybody. That's why I create the podcast
Yeah,
and the
that's why
blog
you do
and
this stuff. Yeah.
so that several thousand people can learn from it.
Yeah,
So
I love it. Well, Justin, we can make this a lot longer, but
it's awesome,
got
man.
some other things, man.
Good stuff, man.